Yes, good evening, Mr. Keš.
Good evening.
Let's just start straight away.
Yes.
If I could ask you to introduce yourself. You were the son of an X-ray engineer, and you graduated from Queen Mary College.
We cannot hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly, yes, no problem.
Okay.
First of all, I would like to say hello to you people at the Imperial College. I have a lot of good memories from the college. I spent a lot of nights sleeping on the sofas and chairs in that university years ago. First of all, I come, as you know, from Iran. My background is that through the work of my father as a X-ray engineer with Philips International in Iran in the medical sector, I was brought into the environment of radiation and the world of X-rays and that kind of equipment very early in my life. So the question for me from the beginning was, a lot of things don't make sense in what I was told and how the systems were working. And to answer my own questions, I came to England as there was the pattern in those days. I went to Barnet College in north of London, and then did the first diploma in Manchester, and then I graduated from Queen Mary College as a nuclear engineer, specialized in design of nuclear reactors. And so from the beginning, I had an argument with my professors and my teachers in the university that the whole nuclear industry is upside down. It's not working the way the universe works. So the advice from my personal tutor, Dr. Shaw, was, Mehran, do your work, get out and try to prove it. Here there is no room for new intelligence. So I stopped the work with the British nuclear fuel, and I set out to develop a new technology, the way the universe works, not the way it's been imagined and measured. So the consequence has been 20 years of financing personally research, and when I knew I have developed a final position in achieving gravitational magnetic fields, I stopped my commercial activities, and my full-time life has been for past nearly 12 years, totally in developing and finalizing the stages of the system which flies and lives and operates the same as the universe does.
Fantastic. Can you tell us, basically, in a nutshell... Sorry, I apologize. Could you tell us, just briefly, your understanding of matter and how the classical model is incorrect?
The classical model is a lot of imagination. In the universe, for example, when we can't understand them, micro and macro, you can go from one to another. The scientists have made the plasma or the structure of the plasma the holy grails of physics. So because nobody can see it, they can imagine and say whatever they like. And this is the problem with the present physics. A lot of scientists have to understand in a new way that because the universe works by interaction of magnetic fields, it's only the quantity in the entity which matters. What does this mean? It means if you cannot understand the structure of the plasma of a proton, go a step further up in a bigger scale, because the operation is exactly the same. So you look at the plasma of the solar system. Solar system is a plasma, the same function, the same operation as the plasma of the universe, and the same operation as plasma of a proton. And as we have explained in our books, even electron is a plasma. And it's very easy in my demonstrations. I explain in a simple way how electron is a plasma as well. So when you have a plasma of a proton, you can't understand it, go one level higher. A plasma of a solar system. You have a source, we call it the star, we call it the sun. Then this entity releases two things, not one thing which we have assumed up to now. We actually assume both of them, but we never relate them together. The system, the solar system, the sun, radiates magnetic field at the same time as gravitational field. So the entity possesses two things, gravity and magnetic field at the same time. So if you reduce the amount, the quantity, then you see the same thing in the plasma of a proton. If you increase it higher, you see the same thing in the plasma of the universe. The problem has been in the world of physics. We discovered and we came up with different names for the same thing over a long period of time. What does this mean? In nuclear physics, we call the sun the antimatter. In the structure of geophysics or astrophysics, we call the center, the same source, the star or the sun. And in a larger quantity of the same entities, for the universe or galaxies, we call the same source the black hole. So in reality, if we understand there is a source, the source radiates two magnetic fields. One we call gravitational magnetic field, and one we call the magnetic with a bigger magnetic, which is a shielding and protection. So one pushes away and gravity pulls in. So when you have an entity like Earth, which creates its own gravitational magnetic field, and the sun, which creates its own gravitational magnetic field, the interaction of four field forces decides the position of the Earth in respect to the sun. Nothing else. We don't have a control room on Earth. We don't have wings on Earth. We don't have jet propulsion and rockets on Earth to dictate the position and the speed of the Earth in its solar system. So what is the plasma? Plasma is a source which radiates out magnetic and gravitational field, what we call magravs. And where this gravitational magnetic fields, through its strength, can create an atmosphere or a sphere, we call this the boundary, that magnetic field, gravitational field boundary, a plasma. So you have a source radiating gravitational magnetic field, and the span where these field forces can operate is called a plasma.
If I can just sorry, carry on.
So in a way, what you call antimatter is a source. It's become fashionable now, they call it dark matter and dark energy. This is totally nonsense. The reason that we see a dark environment, like from the sun to the earth, is that because magnetic and gravitational fields radiate in the same direction. So when gravitational field and magnetic fields rub and interact, or they cut each other, the residual leftover of the interaction is what we call light. The simple way of this is you have the sun, releases gravitational magnetic field. When these gravitational magnetic fields interact with the gravitational magnetic field of the Earth, it's like rubbing the hand, as I usually say. These four forces, to pull and to push, releases, due to friction, magnetic field residuals, what we see as the daylight. So on the backside of the Earth, where there is no magnetic field and gravitational field interaction from the sun, we see the darkness because there is no residual. So the dark matter, dark energy, is actually magnetic field, gravitational fields in motion from the sun to the Earth. You take the Earth out to the next planet. So Dark energy and dark matter, we call it the transition because it takes from the source the time it transmits itself to the place where it manifests itself. And then at the point when the energy becomes tangible, visible, physically detectable by us according to, again, gravitational magnetic field of our own amino acid, then at that point things become matter, becomes tangible. So you have a source, you have a transition time, and when things manifest itself, then it becomes matter. So what we say, this, what you call it, up and down quarks and these things, this is all a lot of nonsense. And so if the plasma of a proton is too small to understand, go to the larger scale, call it the plasma of the solar system. There cannot be any difference. So it's very easy. You call it the principal matter of the plasma of a proton. We know you're talking about the center. We call the principal plasma source of the solar system. We know you're talking about the sun. You speak about the principal, what do you call it, the source of a galaxy or a universe, and we call this black hole. And even the black hole has a reason. I've explained in the book why it appears to be as black. It's the same as why it appears to be dark between the Earth and the Sun. So this theory of up and down quarks has been there because we didn't understand it. Now we have a better understanding and we see the reality. So we explain it. There is a very big problem with what we have proposed, is that a lot of physics, especially nuclear physics, has been the grandfather stories on the bedside. Now we put orders into physics, and we haven't done anything wrong. We just put another break in the structure of the wall of the science. And then now we see a lot of people recently, especially in the past few weeks, we've seen another American scientist has come up with the same thing in a different version. And it's got a huge backing of the American organizations to prove what we say is correct, and it shows it as an active plasma on the videos which are releasing. So you have a source. Source releases two things, gravity and magnetic field, where this field, the boundary of the field is, one, due to the strength of the source itself, and secondly, through the strength of the environmental magnetic gravitational field, what is around it, decides the size of this plasma. So now you can play God's game.
And the consequences of what you've just said, from what I've understood it, is that now with travel faster than light is possible. Is that so?
Yes. You have to go back again to understand the roots of the science. First of all, the speed of light is the maximum speed of travel on the matter strength. Once you go beyond our detection, decides the point of the matter strength. Once you go beyond it, because don't forget, magnetic gravitational field of the sun, when it's released from the surface, is very strong. Where they lose enough of their strength, at a certain point they become tangible, detectable. So before it becomes tangible or becomes light, what we call light, the field had much more strength and it was traveling at higher speed. So now we learn how to get closer to the source to utilize the stronger fields. So now the speed of travel is by the factor, not by times. You travel by factor of 1, factor of 2, depending where you position yourself. If it's very hard to understand, it's very simple. You take the sun, the closer you come to the sun, the stronger the fields are. So, but these fields, what we see, are all on the strength of the principal strength. Some of it are. So you decide where you want to be, you choose that magnetic field, and depends that magnetic gravitational field strength, how much is faster than the speed of light in the matter environment of the